reality is simply knowing right from wrong, and then applying that to whatever circumstances in front of you. This morning, it's the question of poverty.
Safety, health care, and jobs are the main concerns that humanity should come together and work on that.
And the reason that the work needs to get done from a Jewish perspective is absolutely, perfectly crystal clear. Most of the folks in this room are familiar with the book of Deuteronomy. Moses is high on the mountain, overlooking the promised land about to enter. And he's addressing the people, telling them what they're going to need when they're going to enter the land, who they need to be to survive, who they need to be to found a righteous community. And he says, when you enter the land, there shall be no poor among you, if you obey the commands of the Lord. And then, not even one sentence later, after he says there aren't going to be any needy, Moses says, if there is a needy person among you, do not harden your heart and shut your hand. Rather, you must open your hand and lend him sufficient for what he needs. Beware lest you harbor the base thought, so that you are miserly toward your needy kinsman, and give him nothing as he cries out to the Lord against you, and you have sinned. Give him readily, and have no regrets when you do so. The Lord your God will bless you in all your efforts and all your undertakings, for there will never cease to be needy people in your land. Which is why I command you, open your hand to the poor and needy kinsmen. It's a tremendous obligation. I study Musar, Jewish ethics, with my congregation, and there's a statement in Musar that it is our obligation to bear the other's burden as if it is our own. And there's a recognition, though, that while that obligation is without end, the individual ability is very limited. So most of us in this work draw our ability from a statement by a rabbi named Hillel, who says it's not our obligation to complete the work, but neither are we free to desist from it. We need to engage in the work to the best of our ability. The way he ends that statement is by saying, if not now, when? There is no time like the present for us to begin engaging in that work.
I think when you look at the issue of poverty, there are all kinds of elements to that. It's huge. It's housing, it's education, it's schooling, for instance. Well, at the individual level, we're talking about several levels. We've got a kind of an individual level, and then we have a group, or it's a larger thing.
When I listen to the news, when I listen to people talk, the overriding sense I have of people is that they're angry and afraid.
What I would say is that probably the best thing we can do is to form coalition and partnership to make sure that those in power actually are able to hear the voices of those who traditionally have had their voices silenced, and to help organize folks whose voices have been silenced so that they can present their case to those in power as well.
That an initiative could be brought out to reach out to all people of faith and establish some sort of a non-for-profit.
The Jewish community is messianic, meaning that we believe that the world can be better. We believe it can, and we believe it can because we believe that we have the power to make it better. God gave us that power to be able to work together, to follow the correct path, and to bring our world to a better place. And I do believe the world is better, or the United States is better than it was 50 years ago in many, most respects. There is less poverty, there is less racism. It's still there, and we have an obligation to fight against it, but we do have the ability to make our world better.
God created the human being an honored thing. And it is your job to keep honor for your race. And poverty could bring out a lot of evil from people.
If you follow Jesus, Jesus is ever hopeful. He's always encouraged. We can think ourselves to death on this. Some days you're going to be encouraged, some days you're not going to be encouraged. You should think a little bit about that, but at some point you need to give that up, because you know what's encouraging? Actually doing something.
I am encouraged because God that I serve, and it's only from my own experience and my education and my training, but mostly it has to do with my own experience. I cannot but have hope.
Margaret Mead, the world-famous anthropologist, said we judge a society by how it cares for its the youngest and the oldest. And our safety net in Illinois at this point has a lot of holes. But our calling is to keep going forward, be hopeful, and continue to play a key role in improving the well-being of children, families, and communities.